What's going on, guys? So today I'm going to be talking about that recent video that I posted exposing all the spots that I keep guns and knives and stuff. I had quite the selection of different comments. Some people called me John Wick. Some people had some pretty funny jokes to throw down. Some people said it was cool. Some people said thanks for the ideas. Some people said, that they don't get it. Some people think that I'm psychotic or paranoid for having guns like that around the house. So I wanted to kind of expand on that video and kind of talk about some of the stuff that I got for feedback. So for this video, I'm just using this as a visual. This is the HK VP9 SK. All right, so we're going to go ahead and make sure that we're nice and safe here because you are, of course, watching a video and we don't want that, like an accidental discharge going through the screen and possibly hurting you watching, right? So, of course, we got to do those YouTube safety checks. So, yeah, where do I even start? I will start with the idea. Well, one of the comments was very similar to like typical American or something along those lines. And that's the first place I want to start. So, obviously, YouTube videos are worldwide. People watch from Canada, they watch from the UK, they watch from Africa, they watch from India. I mean, you name it, all around the world, it's the internet. Everyone uses YouTube. As long as you have internet connection, you've probably been on YouTube and you have the possibility of watching this video. So, I see that a lot. I don't just see it on YouTube, on videos. I see it on social media in general. I see it in politics, when the gun topic comes up. And I just want to make it very, very clear to people who don't live in America that not all Americans love guns, not all Americans have guns, not all Americans have even seen a real gun. That's right, you could live an entire lifetime to 85 years old and never actually touch a real gun. That's not like 15 Americans, that's millions of Americans. Millions of Americans do not have guns in their life. So I know it's kind of hard to understand if you don't live here and you get a very limited view of what America is like. I talk to people every day from all around the planet, and I have very interesting discussions all the way from like food, people who are interested in moving here, I've talked to them, they have moved to the United States, which is awesome, and more than welcome, There's plenty of room here. There's definitely some more building that has to be done across, the United States. I hate to see cities getting more and more congested, even suburban areas, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of countryside in America. We got room for more people, if they develop it. But that's not the point. And I will say that I more than welcome people coming here the right way. That's a very important point, right? You don't want people breaking into wherever you live, and neither do Americans. But I'll give you an example, right? So, what do I know about the UK, for example? Not much. And I talk to people who live there every single day. Now, I've learned quite a bit about cuisine and lifestyle and government stuff. And, so I maybe know a little bit more than the average person, but I have a very limited view of what it's like. Let's say China, for example. I have a very limited view of what it is like to live in China. Now, when I see things about China, it's not necessarily about some Chinese farmer who lives out in the countryside of China. You know what I mean? A lot of the stuff is more city-related. As far as footage that I've seen from China, any videos on YouTube and stuff, it's a more narrow view of what it really is. I'll never have the real picture unless I live there. You have to live it to know it, right? Ireland, you know what I mean? Egypt, you name it. Anywhere in the world, unless you've experienced it, and I don't mean just visiting, that helps. That definitely helps if you've physically been there and looked around a little bit. But even then, a lot of times you get a tourist's view. You don't get a life view. And the same can be said for America. Now, the first thing I want to say is America is extremely diverse. Obviously, we're the most diverse country on the planet. We have the most different people who want to live a different type of life. We have the most variety in religion, in skin color, in background. You name it. We have it all. We are the melting pot of the world. And because of that, we have a lot of fighting compared to some other countries, right? We have crimes, but every country has crimes. There's very good things about our country, there's bad things. But again, that could be said for any place in the world. What's interesting is that, geographically, if you've never been to America and, drove around multiple states, you wouldn't really know that every state, pretty much with some exceptions, but every single state has congested cities. They have countryside. We have everything from deserts to, like where I live, is just wooded mountain area. You know, we have plains, we have cold areas all year round, we have hot areas all year round. But like every single city has really, or excuse me, every single state has really crappy areas with lots of crime and just bad people. And it's just poverty. And that's really what happens. You know, quote unquote bad areas, it's usually all surrounding poverty, right? People steal things because they don't have the money. People commit crimes because they don't have the money, right? It's not always because they're just bad people. They feel forced to do it, whatever the situation is. But that's essentially what ends up happening is all the bad stuff happens where people don't have money. Generally speaking, when there's neighborhoods where people have lots of money, they have different types of crimes, like maybe tax evasion or something, money laundering, things like that. But yeah, a lot of it stems around poverty. But every state has really crappy areas and really, really beautiful areas. You have to also realize, like, driving through all 50 states is going to 50 different countries, essentially. You know, compared to, like, Europe specifically, it's just geographically we are huge, okay? Huge. And there's just so many different types of people in different places. It's hard to even describe what it is to be an American because there are millions and millions of Americans that look very different from each other. They have completely different environments. They have completely different thought processes on what life should be. It is just, it's really hard. It's hard to explain, like, here's what America is, because America is many different things. Everything you could think of and much more that you haven't thought of. Now, when it comes to guns, yes, there's a gun culture in America because we're allowed to have a gun culture. Obviously, many places, most places around the world, you are forbidden to have guns. And if you are allowed to have guns, you're very, very, very restricted from your government. Your government does not want their citizens to be armed. America was created, you have to remember, by a group of people who just broke away from a tyrannical government, and they had to fight a war, and they won, right? Because of guerrilla warfare, thank God. And that was a very important part. That's how our country started. Our country started with people, just a couple people who beat the government because they had some weapons. And, you know, the Second Amendment, you know, is all surrounding that. I mean, a lot of people get kind of confused with the Second Amendment. Some people argue, well, it's my right if I want to hunt. The Second Amendment is not about hunting. Oh, it's my right to stay alive. Like, I can defend myself because of the Second Amendment. Yeah, sure, but that's not why it was created. It wasn't created to defend yourself or to hunt. The Second Amendment was created so that if our government goes wacky, we could take over. Now, that's what it's supposed to be. But fast forward, you know, 250 years, and the government has a little bit more, you know, better weapons, of course. Now, for many years now, I always thought that if there was really a war against the American government and the American citizens would win by a landslide. And some people laugh at that. They're like, no way, how are you going to fight the army? What do you mean, what army? The military is made up of American people, American soldiers that have friends and family. They're not going to fight their friends and family, in my opinion. They're not going to side on the government and keep their job when you're talking about an actual war against government. Now, no one wants that because no one wants anarchy. And if we fought the government and won, we'd have to create a new government, right? And if we lost, who knows what that even looks like. So, you know, hopefully none of that stuff ever happens, but I do feel like it would take other nations to come in. Like, the American government would have to have armies from other countries come in and fight us, but the American military branches, I think, would all go home, with their weapons, by the way, and fight the government with us, because they're with their families, their loved ones, right? So that's just my opinion. Of course, you could disagree with it if you want. But anyway, getting back to the gun topic, you know, I shared my video and I showed my guns. Now, that's normal to me. It's normal for me to have guns in every room of my house. And you think, like, well, that's excessive. You know, some people, and I call these people FUDs. It's not my term. A FUD is someone who is pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment, but with many limitations. For example, they might be like, well, yes, it's my right to have a gun, and the Second Amendment protects my shotgun, and I can go hunt with my shotgun and my rifle, and I can shoot my deer and my turkey, but I don't like AR-15s, and I don't want people to have 30-round magazines, and I don't think you should have this, and I don't think my neighbor should have that. That's a FUD, right? Like Elmer Fudd. And the idea behind that is that if you're for gun rights, you're for everything. But some people aren't. Some people are like, yeah, no, you could definitely have a gun, but you shouldn't have 2 guns. All right, you can have 2 guns, that's fine. But you shouldn't have 5 guns. That's excessive. All right, fine. You can have 5 guns, because I've explained why there's a need for 5 guns. But you shouldn't have 20. I mean, where does it end, really? Now, as far as, if you don't understand the gun culture, like the guns that I don't have that many guns. I mean, just look at gun YouTube channels. Some of these people have 400 or 500 guns. Now, the difference between someone having, let's say, 15 guns sitting in a safe and 1 gun, you know, maybe locked up by their bedside or something, that is what considered normal. But somehow I am abnormal for having those 15 guns scattered around the house instead of in a safe. I don't really understand the logic behind that, you know. People think it's excessive. I'm not trying to use them all at once. So when I go home, I want to be comfortable in my house. So I do not carry a gun in my waistband or my pocket or anything around the house. Why would I? I want to be comfortable. Usually in some like gym shorts, or if it's cold, I'm in some, you know, sweatpants or something. I don't want to carry a gun around the house. So instead of me carrying 1 gun in 15 different rooms, I have no gun on my person, but I have a gun in every single room. So if I have, let's say I'm in the kitchen, and someone breaks the door, I have a gun in the kitchen. If I'm in the bedroom, I have a gun in the bedroom. If I'm in, you know, dining room, I have a gun in the dining room. I mean, wherever I am in the house, I can get to a gun in 2 to 5 seconds, probably, ready to go. So the person who is watching a video like that and they're saying, well, that's excessive. You can have a gun, but it should be locked up in your safe. Okay, well, let's just say that I'm sleeping in the bedroom and I hear a crash in the middle of the night. Someone broke in the living room window, let's say. Well, I have a safe in, let's say, the den, right? I have to get to the den. I have to take the time to open the safe and get the gun. What if I hear a crash in the night, I'm in the bedroom, and the crash is coming from the den because they broke in a window and now they're in the den? Do you think that I'm going to be able to see them, ask them to sit down for a moment while I open my safe and get my gun so I can defend myself again against them? No, obviously that's stupid. So what you end up having here, and I'm going to quote James Yeager, R.I.P. James Yeager was a very smart, very intelligent man, obviously very equipped with gun knowledge. I've had the pleasure of talking to him a couple times over the phone. I regret not going to take his course. He actually invited me to take his course for free. I just had to bring the ammo, like 2,000 rounds, and I just didn't have the time. It was like a 4-day course or something, and I had to pass on it. I regret that, because now that's not an option. But James Yeager, he had said once, and it makes the most sense, is there's like a scale. It's like a sliding scale of safety and convenience, right? So if you have a gun in the house, here's 2 extremes. The one extreme is you sleep with your gun in your hand, loaded, ready to go. You are the most prepared for any situation possible, but it is also the most dangerous way to store your gun. Here's the other extreme. The other extreme is your gun is taken apart into pieces, locked in your safe. Now, it is the safest possible way to store your gun, but the least convenient and the hardest to get to. So all the realistic things in between, like, okay, you have a loaded gun, maybe it's in a biometric box next to your bed or something. So it's locked up, people can't access it quickly, but you can, you know, essentially get it in under a minute at least, right? Maybe 10, 20 seconds. You're able to roll over in bed if you hear a noise and put in your coat or put your hand on it, whatever the case is, and the box will open and you can get your loaded gun. That's a little bit more safe than sleeping with your hand, but it's also not as, you know, inconvenient as having it in the safe in pieces. Now, a lot of people, and I'll tell you, I have a cousin who just contacted me. He's an awesome dude. He wanted to have a gun forever. He is in another state that's not good. I'll say it's very difficult to, you know, to have a gun culture there, but you can. And he went through the process and paid all the money, finally got his carry permit and got a gun. And he was very excited to show me his new gun. He got a CZ. It's awesome. We had a great conversation about it. And I asked him, you know, how he stored it. And he said, well, you know, right now I'm not carrying it. I'm not comfortable carrying it. But I do have it at home locked in a safe. He said, it's loaded, but it's locked in a safe. I said, cool. And I didn't really talk to him about or criticize him about how he's storing his gun. He's brand new to it. You know, he emphasized, like, it's kind of crazy. It's like a loaded gun. Like, I never thought I'd have a loaded gun. And I remember that feeling when I first got into guns. It's like, wow, like, this is a gun. You know what I mean? When you're kids, it's like, you don't even think about having a gun one day or owning a gun or carrying around a loaded gun. So it's like, it's a little intimidating for some people, and of course it's exciting, and it's all new and fresh and stuff. So how he's comfortable right now is having it loaded, but locked in the safe. And he's like, I have great peace of mind. If there's a bump in the night, I can go get my gun. And like, you know, I'm thinking in my head, well, it's going to take some time to get the gun. Hopefully, whatever situation that might occur, you have the time. And whatever the person is, hopefully they don't get in before you go to your safe and open it and get your gun. But he's brand new. I'm not going to criticize him and say, hey, listen, maybe that's a bad idea because you can't access it. No, no, no. It's him and his fiance, and that's how they're comfortable doing it, so that's cool. I don't criticize people on how they have their guns, how they carry them, what guns they choose, what caliber. I don't care. I always find it odd that people care so much. Like it's almost insulting if you don't pick the right gun. It's insulting if you don't carry it the right way. It's insulting if you don't have, you know, the right ammo, the best ammo. You know what I mean? Like, people are very critical of each other. Truthfully, who cares? It doesn't affect anyone. So anyway, very happy for him though, and he's super stoked to go to the range. Can't wait to hear how it was. But I'm using that as an example because there's a lot of people who are like, I want to own a gun to defend my home, but they have it, and it's loaded, and it's sitting in their safe, and their safe is nowhere near where they sleep or where they might be one day if they might need that gun. And that's okay because they have a lot of safety, again, all the way over here, a ton of safety, but inconvenient to get to. It's slow and inconvenient. But they're okay with that because maybe there's kids in the house, maybe they have a lot of parties and stuff. They don't want to have strangers maybe, or possibility, maybe some coworkers you don't really know well. You have a house party and maybe they have accessibility to your guns. So you like the idea of it being safe. I am more like down here somewhere where I have loaded guns all over the place. So I have very little security, but I have almost the most convenience possible. That's what I chose to do. That's what I prioritized myself with how I set everything up, is that no matter where I am in the house, I have access to a gun. Not all of them. I don't care about having all of them. That's why people say, oh, it's really excessive. Well, what's excessive about it? The fact that I have accessibility? I mean, if you're going to have a gun in the first place, you have the mindset of like, well, you know what? I probably won't need it. But if I do, at least I have it. Now, I used an example of having a spare tire, and it blew someone's mind. They could not comprehend. They're like, that is not the same having a spare tire as having a gun. Why? Why? Like, I don't see guns as this scary, dangerous thing. This is just a hunk of metal and plastic and parts. Right now, there is nothing in this gun. This is just as dangerous as a hammer. If it's just sitting here, it's doing nothing. In this particular case, I could pick it up and pull the trigger and it does nothing. This is not going to hurt anyone, right? I just see it as tools. It might as well be keys or, like I said, a hammer or something, right? But some people, there's such a taboo and such an aura about guns. You know what I mean? It's not the same. Well, I'll tell you how it is the same. I use that question because I say, if you're going to carry a spare tire, you're going to get less gas mileage. It's just a fact. The more weight you have in your vehicle, the less gas mileage you're going to get. So having a spare tire actually makes it cost more for you to use your vehicle. And if you have an electric vehicle, fine. It costs more energy to move that around because it's more weight. So why do you carry it? Well, just in case. And that's the idea, right? It's preparedness. It's just in case. And then someone said, well, yeah, I have a spare I have a spare tire in my car, but I don't have 15 of them. Yeah, but if you had 15 cars, you would. You would have one in each car, just like I have one gun in each room, because I don't know where I'm going to have a flat tire. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's why I use that comparison. But people are like, it's like, that's crazy. Guns are not the same. No, of course it's not exactly the same. But all this is an option for me. That's it. It's just an option. Like, you really break it down. It's just a little tool that takes these things, right? And there's a tiny little explosion, and it throws it somewhere, wherever you're pointed. I mean, it really is that simple. But people are just like in awe about it, especially if guns are not part of your culture. If it's not part of your life, you're not around guns all the time, they're very taboo. This might as well be a grenade. And I could tell that, like, when I've gone with people first time shooting and stuff, you know, when they hold it, it's like they're very timid, like, oh man, it's a real gun. And they're like, you know, trying to be very delicate with it because, you know, of course they're smart and they don't want to accidentally shoot it. That's not a bad thing, to be cautious. But all I'm saying is that what I have, my setup is not over the top. I'm not paranoid. In fact, I wish it was way more. I wish I could have like an AR or, you know, little Draco or something in every room instead of pistols. You know what I mean? Like, You know, if you think this is excessive, wait until you can legalize having grenades and stuff. I'd have grenades places. I mean, and people think that's like chaotic and nuts. And of course, if you're outside of the US and you have no guns around you whatsoever, it seems like I'm living in fear. That's a common theme. Like, why are you living in fear? Who's after you? Why are you so scared, Jeff? I'm not scared. I'm not. Well, the reason I'm not scared is probably because I have guns in every room. You know what I mean? It's like peace of mind to me. So I'm not trying to focus so much on that because it would be extremely, extremely rare that someone would break in the house and try to hurt me. I mean, first of all, it's rare someone would break in the house. But if they did, it's probably someone who's desperate, on drugs, need money. They just want to steal some stuff to sell it. You know, that's really what it is. They don't want to, most people who break into your home, they don't want to hurt you. They don't want to even come in contact with you. That would be pretty ideal, is they get your crap and they leave. But some of them do carry weapons just in case because they're selfish and they feel like, well, if I'm taking your stuff and you try to stop me, then I'm just going to hurt you so I can get away because I don't want to go to jail or prison. And that's a very logical, although selfish thought. So when people do break in your home, there is a chance that they might have a weapon and they might hurt you. Now, even more rare is someone who's just mental and they're breaking into your home not to take your stuff, but just to kill you because who knows why. Maybe it's personal. Maybe they're just completely nuts and they want to have a random act of violence. Maybe they want to abduct your child or your wife or who knows what. So even though these things are probably not ever going to happen, they do happen. And no one ever thinks it's going to happen to them. No one ever thinks they're going to get into a car accident until they're in a car accident. And then they go, holy crap, I just got into a car accident. You know what I mean? You don't think about these things. You see them in movies and TV and shows and documentaries, but you never think it's going to be you. But it's someone. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that crazy story where someone killed the whole family, whatever. That was someone's family. That family, they grew up and they fed their kids and they were in the school and they went to work. They never thought that they would be in a documentary one day because they all got murdered. But they did. So this stuff does happen to people. Another thing I get too is like, well, how bad is your neighborhood for this kind of stuff? I don't have a bad neighborhood. Thank God. I feel very fortunate for that. If I had a bad neighborhood, my setup would be way more intense. I would say that. But no, I'm not concerned with it, because I have peace of mind, because I feel like I'm prepared. I'm more prepared than some people. I'm not nearly as prepared as other people, but that's just how it is. But like, it's super important for me to let you know, if you don't know the gun culture and you don't live in America, this is not an American thing. This is a me thing. This is a some people thing. It's many people, it's not some. Many people own guns, but there's many different levels of owning the gun, right? All the way to the guy who bought one gun, who left it in a safe, who hasn't touched it in 10 years, who never even shot the thing. They just have it just to know that they have it. It's not part of their life. And then all the way to the extreme where someone else is, you know, they have 1,000 guns and 1,000,000 rounds of ammunition and a bunker, and they go shooting every single day on private property, and they, you know, like, that's an extreme, obviously. But this isn't an American thing. There's so many Americans that hate guns. They want to see these disappear. Now, that's not possible. The fact is that even if the American government said all guns are illegal tomorrow, a complete ban, there will still be tens of millions of guns in America for decades to come. Not only would most people not give up their guns, but all the illegal guns are still going to be there. It doesn't change a thing. Criminals do not listen to laws. They don't care about them. That's what makes them criminals. So because there's guns, I want them too. That's how I see the whole thing. I just explained this to someone. I think it was when I was talking to my cousin. But like when I went to get my carry permit, to make a longer story short, I basically asked the woman, like, how long is it going to take? She's like, oh, well, maybe like a month or so. And she's like, it might be sooner. And I said, well, how many applications do you have this month? And she said something like 300. And I'm like, 300? Like, is that normal? She's like, yeah, you know. And I'm thinking, there's 300 people who get carry permits just in my county, just in 1 month. That's thousands and thousands of people a year who get carry permits. Whether they're using them or not, who knows? But you have to assume that a portion of those people are actually carrying it. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, every time I go to the grocery store, there's at least 1, 2, maybe a dozen people with guns. And I never even knew. So I was super happy to get my permit because, again, if everyone else has them, why can't I have them? You know, it made me want it even more. But again, it's not for intimidation. It's not for feeling cool. There's nothing cool about having guns. Shooting guns at the range, collecting guns, that aspect is cool. Oh, it's cool. I got the new whatever gun you wanted to get. You know, it's exciting just like any hobby, like getting a new knife or a flashlight or whatever. But it's not cool. Like, yes, there's definitely people who feel like, you know, badasses because they carry a gun. That's not me. I can't speak for those people, but that certainly does exist. They feel like, oh, they're powerful, I have a gun, I could do what I want. Those are morons. And usually those type of people end up messing up somehow anyway, and either they lose their life or they end up in prison. So that's a moot point. There's always going to be bad people doing bad things. Something else that I keep repeating online, which is super, super important, is you cannot have freedom without danger. And that's okay with me. It's not okay with all Americans. People are constantly fighting it. They don't want guns. They don't want the freedoms, really, because it's not part of their life. Think about it. Most people, I shouldn't say most, but a good chunk of Americans, the only time they hear about guns are when they turn on the news and they hear about a school shooting. Or they turn on the news and they hear about a public shooting. Or they turn on a movie and they see the bad guy shoot some innocent person. That's their only exposure. It's just negative, 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 guns bad, guns bad, guns bad. They don't have the experience where they go with family and they shoot a gun at the range and they have a great time. Like archery or playing basketball. It's just a sport, right? Plinking. That is super fun. So those people don't have those positive experiences. Those people don't see news stories where someone wanted to hurt a bunch of kids, but someone good with a gun stopped them. That happens. The news doesn't talk about it very often because it's not really part of the agenda. It goes against what they're trying to push. Because unfortunately, the news is owned by individual people, right? Everything you see in society, every company, whatever, it all comes down to one person who owns it or a panel of people who own it, and they have biases. They're human. They have opinions, right? They have an agenda. And so not all the information we get is just neutral. In fact, as time goes on, less and less news and information we get is neutral. There's always an agenda behind it. There's always an opinion behind it. And it's trying to sway how we think. I will also say that my setup that I have, that I showed you guys, and it's very different now. Obviously, if you watch the channel for a long time, that's not where I live anymore. That's why I showed it. It's kind of a duh thing. Like, I wouldn't just show where everything is where I currently live. That seems a little bit dumb and a little too risky, you know. I have my moments, but I'm not that stupid, so I'll just say that. But I thought it'd be fun before I was, you know, in the middle of packing stuff. I thought it'd be fun to share that with you guys because so many people want to know. Everyone's curious. Of course you want to know. You want to see all my guns in the collection. You want to see all my knives. You want to see where I keep everything. Of course you do. I do too. But certain things I obviously just don't want to share. But anyway, I do want to make the point that what I do isn't suggested for other people. I'm just sharing what I do. I'm not preaching. I'm not teaching. All right? That is very important for you to know. Just because I made a video on that does not mean I suggest that you, who owns 2 guns and has 3 teenagers in your house, do what I do. Every single individual case is different. Some kids can be trusted more than other kids, because I got that question too, like, what do you do when someone visits your house with kids? The only children that I've ever been, well, actually, my new house, no one's been here. But in the past, my old house, I have knives and guns and liquor and dangerous crap just everywhere. And I've had my niece and nephew there, and they were watched. It's that simple. Not only are they exposed to guns, I've gone shooting with them, even at a very young age, because I think it's important for kids to see and handle guns in a safe environment so it's not so taboo, right? Like if you have a friend, I know this, I lived this. When I was younger, I had a friend, Steve, and his dad had a rifle in the closet, and guess what? When Steve's dad wasn't home, we went over and he's like, hey dude, you want to see my dad's gun? I'm like, yeah, just like that thing you watched in school where the kid shoots himself in the face. That's exactly what it was. The difference was that me and Steve weren't dumb. So he went to the closet, took out the gun. I looked at it with him. It was not loaded, luckily. Steve knew how it worked. Do you know what I'm saying? I didn't know how it worked at the time, but he showed me and we kind of played with it for a couple minutes. We didn't point at each other. We didn't point anywhere except for the wall. We handled it safely. He put it back, and then we went and played basketball. That was it. It was a non-event. But our curiosity was over. That was it. So I think kids should be exposed to guns like that, because when you make it something like don't touch, don't look, do not do it, what happens? The kids want to do it. It becomes something exciting. Ooh, now I want to go touch it because you told me not to. So I have a different approach on that, which some people agree with and some people don't, and that's fine. And again, I'm just sharing my opinions. You don't have to agree with any of this. You don't have to like any of this. It's just what I do. But yes, when I've had children around and I've been around dangerous things, I just monitor the children. That's all. They're not allowed to be in a room by themselves. It was fine. I've never had an incident, knock on wood. I'm more worried about other adults, to be honest, especially adults I don't know very well. That's why I don't have, like, house parties. You know, I'm not... Me and my wife love going to get-togethers and barbecues and parties and stuff like that, but we're not entertainers ourselves. You know what I mean? Neither one of us want to be the host, and that's a good thing. I don't want people touching my stuff and knocking things over and breaking... Like, I don't know, I get anxious if there's more than one person in my house, you know? And that's fine. That's just our lifestyle. So I don't have to worry about stuff like that, but you, the viewer watching this right now, you might. Maybe you're the house that everyone's over all the time, so you can't just keep a gun, you know, in a panel behind your couch because someone's likely to eventually see it and maybe do something dangerous with it. I get that. So your situation is very different than mine. And that's why so many people do have gun safes, and they keep their guns locked up in boxes and safes like that because they do have children, and they don't trust their children, or they don't trust their children's friends. Maybe you have a son or a daughter and they know you have a gun and they know where it is and you trust them, but they got someone over and you're taking a dump or something, or you stepped out to get the mail for a second and maybe they go for that gun and you're not comfortable with that, so that's why you keep it locked up. Kudos to you. That's fine. You know your situation better than I do. So what else? What else can I talk about or bring up that, you know, like points I want to make here? Yeah, that's, I mean, the biggest thing is that for me, if I have guns just sitting in a safe, they're not accessible. That's it. Of course, I don't want things to be stolen, but that's why you pay for insurance. That's why I have cameras. That's why, you know, I mean, the cameras are outside, but someone coming or going, I might be able to catch a glimpse of them. I mean, I have many, many angles outside, so that's, I mean, you know, it's possible someone's on camera, but they have you know, their identity's hidden, and I don't know who it is. But again, it's just stuff. That's why I pay for insurance. So if stuff gets stolen, I get the money back, I replace the stuff, or I get new stuff, or whatever. I'm not super concerned with it, is what I'm saying. So instead of having all my guns in one little spot that's hard to get to, I'd rather have them all over the place. And it's not just my house. Believe it or not, I have guns stashed and hidden, multiple guns, in multiple locations at families' houses. Jeff, you're crazy. No, I'm not. I'm just trying to be prepared. And my family members know where those are as well, and they're more than welcome to get them if their life is in danger and use them, you know? So this is just a way of life for me, but it's not paranoia. I'm not worried about anything. And maybe, again, that's why I'm not worried. If I didn't have any guns at all, I think I would live my life just fine. Like if I just couldn't have them anymore, something happened, they all got taken or whatever, I couldn't replace them, that's fine, I'll live, you know? But it's just peace of mind. That's all it is. It's just because I can. Because I can, I did. And I don't know why some people have a problem with that. I don't really know why you care. But if you're watching the video, it's important for me, for you to know, if you don't live in America, this is not an American thing, right? It's just some people's thing. No different than some guy right now in Canada has a huge gun collection. Does that mean he's an American? It's an American thing? No, of course not. He's a cool Canadian that likes guns. That's all. You know what I mean? There are guns all around the world, just not as many as America. America has all the guns, and I'm cool with that. Because the American citizens are an armed citizenship in general, again, not everyone has them, but overall, there's more than one gun per household if you look at all the guns, you know. In other words, all the guns in America right now could be handed out, and every American would have a gun if they needed it. I'll say that. But, it doesn't make us more dangerous than anywhere else. You know, people hear constantly, oh my God, there's school shootings and stuff. You are more likely to be eaten by a shark, you know, attacked by a shark, struck by lightning, you know, attacked by a wild cat than you are to be a victim of a school shooting. School shootings are horrible. They're absolutely horrific. I feel just horrendous stuff when someone with a mental problem wants to hurt other people and they decide to go do it in an environment where no one can defend themselves. I think that sucks. I hope it slows down. But again, you have to accept danger in order to have these freedoms. It's just the way it is. People are really worried about school shootings, but those same people aren't worried about car accidents, and those happen way more frequently. There's way more children that die every single year as a passenger in a vehicle than in a school. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even comparable. It's such a small amount of victims, But obviously it changed their lives for those victims' family and friends. My heart goes out to anyone who's ever been affected by gun violence. But you know who else is affected by gun violence every single day? People in inner cities. There are people who are shot from gang activity to, random acts of violence all the time. But because it's so regular, the news doesn't talk about it. It's not a big story. Some school gets shot up and 2 students get shot and the person kills himself. That's a massive nationwide story, worldwide story, right? But you go to Chicago and some gang member, does a drive-by, kills a little girl and her older brother or something like that, and the father, no one cares. I mean, that's sad to me. It's sad that because it's just so common that no one cares. It's just because that's always been going on. Your entire life, that's been the normal. But school shootings are kind of a little bit fresh and new. I mean, ever since Columbine, it's still shocking, right? But anyway, I'm just telling you, that's not the American way. I've never been in a school shooting. I don't know anyone that's ever been in a school shooting. I never talked to anyone who's been in a school shooting. It's way more rare than you think on the grand scheme of things. It's still not good, but if you don't live in America, it's not a common fear. It's so incredibly rare. It's just shocking. That's why we keep hearing about them when they happen. And yes, they're happening a little more frequently because, these people who are essentially just suicidal and have, mental issues, they get the notoriety. So they don't want to die quietly, hanging in a closet. They'd rather, be dramatic in going out. And unfortunately, that's not going to end because the news glorifies these things and it, creates more excitement for other people with mental disabilities. But anyway, that's nor here or there. I'm just telling you, I love guns. I love my American freedom to have guns, but it doesn't mean every American does. That's the main point here I want to get across. As well as, I'm not paranoid. I'm just a little bit more prepared than some people. But again, nowhere near as prepared as others. So that's it. I wish booby trap was okay, but booby traps are illegal in America. Did you know that? Otherwise, I definitely have some cool booby traps going on. But that is 100% illegal. But I also want to leave you with this. I have dozens and dozens and dozens of guns. No one has ever been hurt by any of my guns. To date, not a single person, not a single scratch. The worst thing that ever happened was I was cleaning a Glock magazine once and the spring hit me in the eye and cut my cornea. So it was a self-inflicted wound by being dumb and taking a base plate off without goggles on, I suppose. This is before I wore glasses. But yeah, I mean, no one gets hurt. My guns have only brought me and my wife joy, as well as other family members and friends who shot them. It is all positive. It is a very, very positive experience. And hopefully, I'll never have to use them to hurt anyone. But if I do, it's because I want to preserve my own life or the life of my loved one. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. And I'll see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.